Good morning, quick sound check. Good morning. I can hear myself, so I know it's working. My biggest fan is here. What's going on, man? Happy Monday. Happy Monday. All right. I gotta be honest, I don't really love where we're where we're currently trading at. That like 20-minute rally where we moved 200 points in the Nasdaq is not cool, I don't think. Also, same time, we got a lot of room for gold and silver to move. Nasdaq getting a little bit of weakness here before the bell. So we got a couple minutes. I dropped the morning right up in there, essentially kind of thinking that we'll shake down here towards this, 29,350-ish, give or take here, first thing this morning. And then from there, I think if we can get back over 417s, then we should be pretty well good to move. I don't see, I don't really see anything of like immediate interest. AMD is getting a bit of a gap up. NVIDIA is getting a bit of a gap up here. Otherwise, I think it's just going to end up being whether or not S&Ps can push up into 7466s, whether Dow ends up holding, this 2808s at the moment, and then whether Dow can push up to 49,740s, which is about another 110, 120 points away. So we got a little gap down in Meta, a little gap down in Tesla. Microsoft small gap down, which is kind of crazy considering NASDAQ just rallied what it did, and we're like now currently green technically at the moment coming into the day. So I'm a little bit surprised by that, just the fact that we are having a couple of those names with some weakness. Not that it's anything out of the ordinary, but I just wouldn't have expected to see those names still staying red with a move like what NASDAQ just did, essentially doing the exact opposite of what NASDAQ did. So that's interesting. I don't know that it's necessarily playable. Like I said, the biggest thing I see is whether or not we flip kind of this Russell Dow, S&P, NASDAQ kind of pair, if you will, and the way in which those have been trading, kind of that leader change that we talk about. So we'll see if that ends up being the case here this morning or not. But yeah, I think that's, at the moment, I think that's pretty much it. We've got a massive overnight range that is insane. So I kind of want to let that trade a bit and just see where where we settle out here first thing. All right. If you have any good names, feel free to throw them out. There was a couple on the scanner, but nothing super enticing here. And got about 30 seconds to go here. Yeah, no, unfortunately, there's not. I would love for there to be something, but I'm just not seeing it yet at the moment. Nasdaq open here at 338. Well, Russell is holding at the moment. Actually, a nice little opening hold there for the Russell. Traded that 28.0840s there now and getting a little bit of a pop. Dow unfortunately doesn't have a level here. It's got it way up at 740. I say way up. It's up at 741s. Amazon, nice little test there, and then rally. AMD trying to challenge the level. Nasdaq has no idea what it wants to do. Russell is back under the level while Dow is actually trying to push. It's a bit of a mess here so far. It'd be surprising if Nasdaq didn't try and go test 417s in regular trading hours. That'd be a bit of a surprise, I think, here. But it doesn't seem ready yet. Immediate reversal out of the Dow there. S&Ps do have that level 73.68 below. Maybe we see something where NASDAQ tries to pop up, trade these 417s, fails and takes us lower, and S&P's goes and gets that lower target. Or we save this 417 until later today after we go lower first. One of the two potentially. Google's got some strength. Amazon, interesting strength as well. So much for NASDAQ maybe holding like 350 area and trying to make a run there. A little bit more weakness than I would have expected there off the open. Especially given that pre-market action. Amazon doesn't care and Google doesn't care. The Google move is impressive. Just straight up through there. See the SPY level below. NASDAQ new low there. This Google move is nuts. Like I said, I can't tell whether NASDAQ wants to go up to these 417s and then essentially die from there, or if we're not going to get a rally essentially at all and then die and come back and get that later potentially. There's room down to 839s. overnight lows down around 926s. It's 350 points lower, give or take. Part of me thinks we would try to at least initially attempt it, but I don't know. At the same time, though, I'm sure given that pre-market rally that I wasn't the only one kind of thinking that. Nasdaq trying here. Maybe a little bit. Amazon for sure. Google for sure. Tesla weak. S&P said no go on wanting to rally. Russell says no go. S&P's new lows. AMD rejecting fairly hard there. That was way more than I expected to see out of that thing. I guess you could say Google's kind of doing the same thing there. Dow is the only one holding this first initial attempt at a low. We're basically back down right here where the rally first thing this morning kind of started. That last little bit of the rally kind of started from 29,200s area. What is happening? The Dow's back at opening print. Dow is back at opening print, but NASDAQ, that was S&P's printed 74.31s there and then right back down. Dow, on the other hand, sitting right above opening print here. What's up, Christian? I mean, we kind of look ugly so far. NASDAQ is moving though. Like I'm just watching the dome and it's like it is crazy movement here. Like 10, 20 points at a clip. Amazon's still the stronger name on the board. Maybe we see the Dow pop up here and trade these 741s. And then we see S&P's NASDAQ get their big break to the downside. Looks like we're pushing those overnight highs now. Russell trying to come back. S&Ps, 7430s, kind of taking out this red bar. The stops are just so wide. I mean, there's a ton of room here that S&Ps can move. But it's also like we're right in the middle between 7466s. Why is this so loud? Between 7466s and those lower levels down at 7368. There's basically 100 points, 98 points between the two levels that we're currently, kind of stuck between. Dow's pushing towards 741s, 739s traded so far. S&Ps It was the alert for Dow over 741s. Does Dow lead the way today? That'd be kind of crazy. Showing good strength here. You said now? Yeah, now not looking too bad. Russell kind of rallying back up here. Came all the way down, got new lows under Friday. Now pushing back up here towards these highs. NASDAQ with an impressive rally back so far. S&Ps are pushing opening print here. We're getting a little bit of weakness off the 741s for the Dow, which kind of makes sense. We're going to be stuck between a divergence here and the potential for a continued rally. Google new highs, Amazon still moving. There's some small pockets of strength that are doing really well here. My biggest question at the moment is whether or not, if Dow is going to hold, then obviously there's room to, 50,038. There's another 300 plus points above here. S&Ps, we got room to 7466s. And the Russell, which I kind of think might be preferred here in a moment, has room to 2438s. But I want to just let this kind of finish out what it's doing here at the moment. NASDAQ is the only one I'm not super confident in at the moment in terms of a rally. This Dow move is kind of crazy. 140 points or so off that open. Ticks are plus 470. Google big move there. S&P's still no pullback, no nothing just yet in there. Yeah, no, I mean that's a pretty common thing. Like Dow's already made a pretty big move, so like continuing to long it definitely gets tougher, right? I'm kind of in the same thing. Like I'm watching this Russell here. It's not really the last one to make a move, but it certainly hasn't gotten highs. It's a little bit weaker here than everything else. And it's like, should I really, like, is that the one I really want to get behind here? Or do we wait for pullbacks in something like the S&Ps, something like the Dow, let NASDAQ get up over opening print, you know, something. I'm very much in the same kind of thought process with that as well. I mean, I like NASDAQ, but it's just rallied. I mean, it's rallied 150 points like straight off of lows, which is not like I didn't want to see the rally. I didn't want to see the sell off first and then the rally. Like that made today, I think, way more difficult than it needed to be. Like S&Ps fairly close to 74.66s. Like we should have just done that first. The Dow also getting 100 points through the level at this point is also a little bit difficult. NASDAQ finding a little weakness. That's going to be the problem is we're going to run into some divergences up here. The Dow just does not care. It's impressive. The fact that we just like sliced right through that with legitimately no care in the world. I mean, it certainly could continue to move. Like it would make sense that we get pullbacks, obviously, but NASDAQ not as interested. I don't show that on my calendar. Dow's right back down here into 741s. S&P is pulling back to hold open there. I don't want to just buy Dow right off the level like that. Especially with no divergence or anything there. It just bounced 30 points though. That's an impressive little bounce there on the Dow. Damn, that's probably loud. Part of me thinks we go lower. Maybe not necessarily in the Dow. But S&Ps and NASDAQ certainly could. I mean, we're back under that 74.38 opening print area. Pretty decent there. NASDAQ here right back down. That's 150 points up, 150 points right back down. NASDAQ coming down. If we can get a divergence, I'm not opposed to a Dow long from here. But I also don't want to really fight the bigger picture. Netflix getting a little bit of a rally there. Probably nothing. Dow pushing through further than I would like to see it. For 741s to hold in the first place. It's a little crazy. NASDAQ range so far, 221 points. Hmm. Nasdaq new lows. Oh, it doesn't feel like we can long that. Maybe I'm wrong, but like that's a maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know. Nasdaq got the divergence. If this is a range bound, sloppy, choppy type of looking day, then maybe. S&P's pushing right back up over opening print here now. This market's kind of cracked. Market is kind of cracked. S&P is right back to opening print area. Russell, little bottoming tail put in place there. That's a 125.2 minute bar for NASDAQ. That's crazy. Out of nowhere, too. Just a random new low on the day. And immediately ripsticks back 125 points. Russell. The Dow doesn't really get much of a reaction from that either. It is pretty whack. It is all over the place at the moment. I debated. I'm like, certainly we can't just like buy that divergence randomly right off lows like that, but apparently 125 points straight back up says you can. All right, Dow is sitting right here on top of these 741s now. Again, we pushed a little bit further through than I would like to have seen. The target up there is 50,038 on the day, so there's 300 points worth of room to move. I'm going to see if this can't shake down into like 720s here on something. And see if we can establish a little bit of a higher low inside the trend, potentially that gives us a little bit tighter of a risk reward. NASDAQ just straight back up. Actually, pause. I'm gonna go pee. I'll be right back. All right, we're back. Part of me is wondering if we just like end up doing all this today for the first little bit, and then we get a massive move here later today after like the consolidation range type nonsense that we've been seeing so far this morning. Like if that kind of clears up, I don't really know if that's the case or not, but I'm glad I held off on the Dow there. It's coming right back down. NASDAQ, on the other hand, just wants to absolutely rip. Yeah, I wouldn't blame you if that's all you end up doing. This NASDAQ move is just $74.54 of those highs today for the S&Ps. NASDAQ highs up here are 356.25. Google just like ran off my screen legitimately. Oh, is the Dow on opening print? Oh, it was close. Not quite. Dow's getting a bit of a rally back at the same time we're getting a red bar here in the NASDAQ. Dow's trying to get, looks like maybe push up through this 741 area here. Dow at 741s. Oh no, that's kind of wild. I love the idea of a 300-point target. I don't love the idea of a 100-point stop, which is pretty much what it would take here. I mean, this 15-minute bar is 100 points. I mean, shit, the 5-minute bar is 100 points. So we'll see if we can push up a little bit here and pull back, maybe create some type of buy setup, higher low type situation. And then look to see if there's something we can do with it. S&P's here holding opening print. I think this wants to run to 74.66s. I got kind of. I don't know if anybody has a good read here. Better than me at the moment. I can't tell whether Dow wants to hold this 741s and rally. It looks like S&Ps want to try and rally. Russell's kind of the unknown here at the moment, which probably doesn't matter. Dow, S&Ps can do it without Russell. Dow coming right back down. The low in NASDAQ is 205. S&P is just traded opening print there. Again, I should say. That's 15 minutes, kind of ugly looking at the moment. Knowing NASDAQ, we probably take out these 205s like we just did and then rip back to the upside. completely reverse this red bar. There's no like technical thing with this, just the way in which we're trading. Holy cow. S&P's here trying to hold the opening print again. Dow's coming back up now. It's a 50.2 minute bar there. NASDAQ traded 192s there. If you got the balls, I think you could try it long. Yeah, I'm kind of looking at the same thing. I'm kind of thinking the same thing. The Nasdaq, on the other hand, does not look to be the same. Yeah, it's also a little wider stop than I would prefer to have essentially anywhere, realistically. Whether you're looking at NASDAQ, which at the moment it still kind of looks more like lower than higher. It can certainly hold here, but S&Ps are essentially giving it everything it has to try and hold on to this opening print. Again, NASDAQ does have that divergence, so I wouldn't be too surprised if it holds here and tries to rally. Like I said, 417s down to 839s. We got like 600 points worth of range that thing can move in. NASDAQ, on the other hand, says, I don't want to go higher. Russell kind of saying it doesn't want to either. It's right back on lows for NASDAQ. NASDAQ new lows. Does it do the same thing as last time? Get a massive move back up off the divergence out of nowhere. Can the Dow hold on its own essentially at this point? Like it's one market battling essentially every other market on the board at the moment. That's the question I'm asking here, is whether or not we can take an entry in the Dow, potentially like right in through here off these 741s. That low is 26 just now. Or do we just let this thing go lower? With the rest of the markets? I'm kind of thinking we do. NASDAQ seems like it wants that lower level down there. Probably takes S&Ps with it too. What a weird move. Shorts, I think, would have been tough. S&Ps nor NASDAQ, neither one of them really hit any levels. You can make an argument for a short off Russell at 2808, but still, that wasn't like, there was a divergence there. Yes, I get it. Hard reversal there out of Google. AMD, big rejection. Crude oil is back up at 101.90s. Things had a pretty impressive rally off the lows. Bitcoin also fairly weak this morning. It's not the weekly chart you want to see if you're a bull in Bitcoin. It's not great. It won't be a trading view scanner. It's inside the Discord. Yeah, no, I think we want that 839.50s and those 73.68 quarters for S&Ps. I think Dow did trade opening print there, 642s. That 15-minute and hourly are terribly, terribly ugly. Nasdaq trying to save itself more so than I would have expected it to here at the moment. The Dow is trying to hold on here. If it is a range bound type of day and we don't go all the way down there to go get those levels, I mean, I could see this holding. It's also just not great in general, though. I mean, yeah. I say that and we drop like 30 points right down back where we just rallied from. Excuse me. But again, if it is going to be that type of day, then we may try and hold somewhere here. Like S&P's, NASDAQ, Russell, only markets making new lows. It's not to say that the Dow couldn't. Obviously, it can. It would just have to make a bigger move. But it also wouldn't be that much of a surprise to see S&Ps here like try and pop up to 74.38 opening print, you know, essentially do nothing from that and then go back lower again. I wouldn't be too surprised by that. We've seen NASDAQ move 125 points in 2 minutes so far this morning on some other previous bars. So like current bar right now is 70 points. Like that's not technically out of the weeds yet, if you will. I don't know. I'm half tempted to walk away and just go to the gym or go do something other than be here. I think gold's right at opening print, isn't it? Yeah. I don't think that matters. I kind of like the pullback here in Cisco. I don't know if it goes today or not just yet, but I like where we pulled back to at least. Like I said, S&Ps could easily pop back up here to opening print 74.38. We've already popped about 10, 15 points of that so far since I mentioned it down at 74.15s. Nasdaq. 205.15-minute bar. At some point, I think that, I don't know when necessarily, but at some point, I think this bigger picture down move kind of breaks out, and then we get a really nice like trend from there. We basically consolidated for 4 weeks now inside this kind of larger range, just under 50,000. Do we need a test a little bit lower overall, like bigger picture in that range? Do we need to go, kind of test the lower end of that and then get the move? I don't really know yet, but I mean, I like the way that chart's developing from a bigger picture standpoint. Obviously, nothing we can do with that, like right in this moment, but. Actually, hold on. I gotta pee again. All right. Now is that kind of acting like it wants more downside now still? Yo, what the? That State Farm commercial was loud as shit. I don't think there's anything. There's nothing in the Russell here, right? Yeah, Russell's just kind of on its own. It's first week following the red week here. Yeah, I don't think there's anything there. Now is that coming back down? I would have more confidence in this move had we traded up and, you know, went and tagged those 417s and stuff first for NASDAQ. Like that would have made the idea of, hey, we should be looking for shorts, you know, from this point forward kind of thing. Like that would have made that idea a little bit easier to try and find an entry specifically in the NASDAQ from a short perspective. Not that they were necessarily easy shorts in the first place, but it would have made it a little bit easier. I don't know what to do with Russell here. I don't think anything, honestly. I want something to do. I'm looking around trying to find it, but maybe long Russell there, 2790-ish. Maybe. Assume that it holds strength even if NASDAQ does go lower, but I say that and pops 5 points. No, whiplash action for sure. Honestly, the best bet right here is probably Amazon. $268.76 right here. Dow pops up there to like 772s. NASDAQ gets a little bit of a green bar and it comes right back down. What do we have to lows? So it's like 250 points all the way back down to 839s. For NASDAQ here. 250 points left. We got a total range, 385 points on the day. Dow looks like it wants to go higher. NASDAQ, I think, looks like it wants to go lower, and that relationship has been kind of holding that way over the last couple of days. So I don't know that I would be too surprised if both of those things could be true at the same time, meaning that NASDAQ does try and go lower and Dow tries to go higher. At the same time, I don't necessarily know that NASDAQ has to go lower. Like, it could, but it doesn't really have to. I think it probably wants to. Russell somehow kind of acts like it wants to go slightly higher. Russell move higher is certainly interesting. NASDAQ puts in a little bit of a rally there, and Dow puts in a red bar. Amazon doesn't look bad from a long perspective. It's just a matter of market. If you think market's going lower, then obviously longing Amazon is a little bit of a tough thing to say. But otherwise, I don't really think there's much to do. Market getting some volatility there. I don't know what that is, but some type of news shake potentially here. Do we look to do anything with it is the question. I don't really know. I don't think so. Dow made more of a move lower there than S&P's. Yikes. That's a pretty aggressive move for the Dow. What do we just move? $167 points on a 5-minute bar. That's kind of nutty. Somehow Nasdaq holding through all that was rather interesting. Let's see what crude did. Nice rally in crude there. Charts are slow. I mean, I kind of want to do something here, but at the same time, I'm just, what do we even do is the question. What do we even do? Any setups? No, unfortunately, I don't think there is at the moment. It's kind of what we've been waiting for all morning. I'm getting a bit of a rally back here in the Dow. Part of me thinks we just short NASDAQ. Stops would be over these highs at 126s. It's kind of wide though. 60 points, 70 points. There's 210 points basically to targets. Which isn't terrible. As it starts dropping. My charts are slow. That Dow hourly bar, like the whole setup looks absolutely horrendous for more downside action. NASDAQ here trying to put in a green bar, which is very interesting. S&P's got super close to new lows there. 0475s, lows were 04 quarters, and then we turned and ripped. NASDAQ wasn't quite that close. Dow did not get new lows. Russell did not get new lows. So there's no divergence, no real reason to long. There's also no real way to short unless you put stops up over those highs, like I just said. Kind of tough to want to do that in a, like right against an 80.5 minute rally in the NASDAQ too. Like really wouldn't want to, it might work putting a position on here essentially and just like fading that rally, but at the same time, like it's also a tough move. I don't know. I'm going to give this just a little bit longer, and then I'm probably going to call it a day here. There has not been anything super fantastic. I don't even really know what I want to see here. Again, unless it's NASDAQ short, now the stop's more like 80 points here. I guess you could try and maybe use the top of this. It's 87, so it's still 55 points. Let me see something here real quick. So 29040, let's just call it. Stop loss 29090. And target would be 28840. So this would essentially be it. It's a 4-to-1 risk reward ratio, so it's not terrible. Not terrible, but also not the greatest of entries and everything either. Dow making new lows now. Let me hide this. I didn't actually take this or anything, so. The short probably was the way to go. What were these highs? Yeah, 87s. This 4-to-1 risk reward ratio, that's probably the best thing that was on the board at the moment. Probably still technically valid here either way. Oh, you took the short? Nice. I got trust issues with the NASDAQ at the moment, though, as to whether or not it's going to be able to get all the way down there to all the way to targets. It's the way it's been acting this morning, so I think those trust issues are very valid too. Bonds are completely unchanged here this morning. Bitcoin, however, is getting mollywopped. I kind of want to see if we get down there. Like, I don't have a short on or anything at the moment, but I kind of want to see if we can get down there to 839s. I think there's one attempt at a rally this week that pushes us back towards those highs, like 756s in NASDAQ. If 839 is hold, then that's potentially where we go, which is kind of crazy because that's 900 points worth of rally. From there, which would be on the Qs, I'm talking 699s up to 721s. It is pretty bad. It is pretty bad. Certainly doesn't know where it wants to go. I'm kind of losing patience for that 839. I mean, obviously we still got time, but I'm just losing patience in general for the test down there. We got such a wide range. I mean, 839 up to 417. It's like 580 points worth of range. Total range on the day for the Nasdaq's 380 points. We've basically, obviously, with that being said, we've been right inside those two levels. Haven't tested either outside of pre-market up to 417s. Probably drop now. The thing is, if we lose 839s, there's nothing till 574s. About 40 points for S&Ps to drop there too. No, it's 30 points, sorry. Coming into those overnight lows here for NASDAQ now. That idea of the short, honestly, probably not not terrible. See if we can finally get down there. I've been watching metals here. They were getting some crazy movement in the overnight session last night. We're still holding right here in this area for gold and silver as well. Still don't think there's anything there. New low. Almost overnight lows there for NASDAQ. Now trying to get a bit of a rally here. Make an argument for Google. It's not. It's not terrible. $11.34. This market is something else. NASDAQ now looking like it wants to try and rally some of that back. Again, I don't think there's anything to do I don't think there's anything to do with this. Like, we're just here because we like to hang out together, essentially, at this point. Like, I mean, that's the only thing that this can be. What do we drop? Like 100 points there? 29.040s. Yeah, basically 100 points. And then come right back up. That Dow hourly chart is just absolutely hideous. And I can't help but think that with the whipsaw of action that I mean, so is the NASDAQ for, I mean, let me rephrase this. All charts at the moment are kind of trash. But part of me wouldn't be too surprised to see us rip back for some reason and just get a rally essentially out of nowhere. Like, there's nothing here that says we need to or that we should or any of those things. But what it looks like we are going to do is probably exactly that. Which is kind of crazy. Silver did hold this area here, 76.68. I don't know that there's anything we can do with that until we get back over the open and kind of that whole thing. I don't know. Hold on. I gotta pee again. What do we do, Shadow? What do we do? It's kind of crazy that you could see the Dow reverse this whole entire red bar on the hourly. Long it now and short it again later. Jumping out the window. NASDAQ was lower again after a brief little stint at attempting to rally. And NASDAQ rallies back a little bit. 11:46. I'm gonna give this till noon, and then I am going to walk away. I've kind of been waiting to see if we can get down there to 28 839s and just go trade that and be done with it. If anybody has anything, feel free to throw it out, obviously. That now was pretty decent earlier. Google obviously had a nice run earlier too. It faded. I'm debating whether there's anything here in silver from... I mean, there's a fair amount of room if it does want to go. Crude might be in play this week too. Google even breaking down there a little bit now. I really don't think there's going to be anything to do. I'm trying to find something, and I'm just not. Again, outside of that short in the NASDAQ, which would still technically be valid, like it wouldn't have stopped. Shit, I'll even look at like soybeans. What are the grains doing? Soybeans actually not terrible looking. More so probably later in the week, but Ethereum's down a good bit here. I don't know. I said it earlier. I think it's an ugly chart for crypto longs at the moment. NASDAQ turns back around. Shit's funny. The Dow is the only index that I really think has any kind of strength. That doesn't mean that S&Ps and NASDAQ can't rally on their own, of course, but the Dow at least is showing some semblance of strength overall. $642 is that Dow opening print there. Yeah, I don't. It's kind of brutal. Shouldn't even say kind of. It is brutal. The only thing I kind of see here is maybe the silver rally, but also it's also silver, so yeah, it looks like a slow grind down. We've had some weird little pops here and there, obviously probably a little bit of short cover rally type of things, but we're right back down here at 29,000 now. I'm certainly not trying to long. The short idea that we had earlier obviously would still be working. I didn't personally take it, but that was feels like forever ago at this point. I wouldn't be opposed. That's the problem is I wouldn't be opposed to attempting a long off of the 839 area down there for NASDAQ. Like I think that has some potential to it if it wants to hold. But the longer it takes us to get down there, the less interesting that realistically becomes. And I'm also not terribly opposed to the idea that we could long the Dow if and when NASDAQ could get down there and try and play the stronger market. I mean, at the moment, Dow's only down 0.05% on the day. Meanwhile, NASDAQ's down 0.87, right? So if we do get a big move to the downside and the Dow manages to somehow hold, it's not terrible. I'm glad I'm staying away from silver. Time is at 12:01. Market's trying to get down there. I really just want to see us trade it. Whether we do anything with it or not is a totally different situation. Um, I'm half tempted to try a Dow long. Oh, NASDAQ. What are you doing, Shadow? What's the play? Yeah, kind of a shitty market. Kind of a shitty market. It drops down again in whatever ugly ass way it wants to. Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised. Nasdaq trying to get a little rally. I still have silver watching, and I'm just like, There's been an entry right in and around here. We've flipped the trend, we've held, we've done the thing. But I'm just like, It's still silver. Market's not phenomenal. Like, there really hasn't been much. That short would technically still be valid. It'd be 10 points in the money at the moment. 29,040s was the entry. All right. Looks like the low day might be in. Who knows, honestly. We could certainly use a bit of a relief rally at this point. Wouldn't be too surprised if NASDAQ tried to pop up here towards like 113s, 115s. And then essentially just continued back on its merry way to doing what it's been doing. This action's giving you brain damage. Yeah, a little bit. I could see that. The Dow just traded back up to opening print here. I don't know what that. Did anybody see any like news that came out earlier? That big, this 11 o'clock bar for the Dow. Like, I don't know what that was. Like, we didn't get that. I don't know why. Yeah, like we got that in the S&Ps, but not as bad as it did in the Dow. Like, I don't get that. So part of me thinks twofold. One is that Dow tries to rally back and gets back up through these 740s at some point and attempts the rally towards 50K today, right? That was one of the thought processes early on this morning, was like, we'll take some time and digest this whole thing, and then eventually we'll make the move. Whether that ends up being today or not, I don't know. The second part, do I think Dow can get back up over like 740s today? Probably. Um, the other part of me is thinking is that that happens, and then we see something tomorrow where like NASDAQ comes down and gets those, 839s, for example, and then the Dow is rallying up towards 50,038. Like that, I think is a real possibility as well. I mean, I guess there's technically 400 points from right here, which is certainly plenty of room to make a move. Silver here. But at the same time, I also don't trust NASDAQ, so it's like, I kind of like that Google look though. I think it might be more of a relative strength type of situation here. Imagine NASDAQ goes back to 417s from here. Just out of randomly, nothing here to say otherwise, but that 200 points we moved in the pre-market session 20 minutes before the bell, or 40 minutes before the bell, rather. We moved 200 points in 20 minutes. That was pretty random. And that kind of started the initial 200-point rally that led to that was kind of started around here too. I don't necessarily think that's the case for today, but I wouldn't honestly put it past the market. I'm not playing for it, but I wouldn't put it past this market for sure. And right back down. Here we go. That's hilarious. It literally is the worst looking price action I think in the world. I've been super patient, waiting for us to get down into that 839s. Maybe we're finally going to go get that. Russell new lows. NASDAQ new lows. Maybe, just maybe we'll go get it. That short would still be in place. Stops up over 90s, 29.090s, and came traded up to 74s. So that's short from like 18 hours ago, would still technically be valid. It's kind of looking like it. There's that bar out of the Dow that does that normal thing that we talked about earlier. That's not so normal. Just comes out of nowhere. 87 points. Intel getting wrecked today too, actually. Here we go. You've been holding it short for a while then. 8:15. Jeez. Here's NASDAQ down here into 839s. This would be that 699 area. I might look at some QQQ options for tomorrow. We still got a little bit more room to go. I did say though that I think there's a potential we could hold somewhere down in here, this 839 area, and then if we do flip that in NASDAQ, we're basically back up to 721s in here and 756s. It's like 900 points. 920 points or so that I think we have the potential to move. The front run is absolutely obnoxious though. Like, that's pretty crazy. Dow coming right back up there. Yeah, that's unfortunate, Miguel. I'm laughing, but it's not funny. I'm not at all like even surprised at NASDAQ at this point for doing that though. I'm also just not even surprised at the Dow for doing whatever it is that it just did. Like those random bars, like the one at 11 o'clock we were talking about earlier, we basically got that again, and now reversing it right back up at opening print. So it's like, what is even happening with this? Those QQQ calls for tomorrow. You could take a handful of those if you really wanted to. Play the complete reversal of this move back up to highs. Like 715 calls are like 30 cents here. All right, I think I'm gonna roll 1238. I did a couple of those QQQ calls. I think that's gonna be the way to play this here, or at least the way I'm playing it at the moment, I should say. All right, I'm gonna roll. I did that in NASDAQ, and that's it at the moment. I kind of think we probably come back down here and get the test of the front run and actually trade 839.50s, which again, I'm okay with that happening. But I did put a little bit of cues on in the event that we can hold that and then flip and make a move. It'd be crazy. It'd be 900 points back to the upside. But we already rallied 100 points. We're at 935s, 938s right now. So seeing this market move 100 points, or in theory 900 points, really isn't that large of a move. We're down, 300 points on the day at the moment. So if we manage to take that back, there's only another, 1.5%, 2% move left to get those new highs. So it's not crazy. And again, I think the risk reward is totally worth it. Those contracts are around 30 cents. And if we do make that move, those contracts should go to like $6 to $7. So it's like, yes, of course, they're sized for zero, but the risk reward there is really, really nice. So we could be a day early on time wise. We could be a level early in this case, right? We could need to move all the way down to 28,574s for that to happen. But either way, at the moment, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I put on. And I think that's it here. 126 quarters are those highs. And I think that's it. So, yeah, kind of a boring day, unfortunately. The short would have worked, outside of the front run by like 2 points, but I did technically have, which is funny, if we pull this back up, I did have the target being exactly at 840s, which the low of the day being 842.50s. That's kind of unfortunate. But it is what it is. That would have stayed in there. It would have worked. Been good for like 4 hours. Obviously, you'd had to take it off a couple points early, but yeah. Or still be holding it for the next little push down there of a couple points, but I wouldn't do that personally. So, all right, that's what I got. I'll I'll check back in later, but yeah, I would try and avoid getting in trouble with any of this mess. So that's what I got. If you need me, reach out. Otherwise, have a great rest of your Monday, and hopefully we get some better action the rest of this week. It is going to be Memorial Day coming up, interestingly enough. So Monday markets will be closed. So kind of keep that in mind. I don't know if that'll give us any. I don't know if that'll impact us any in like Thursday, Friday, in terms of slower, lower volume type stuff, but it potentially could. So, yeah. And for any of you that have not already joined Lifetime, that are mentorship students and used your discount, I would highly suggest doing so. That's all I'll say. Anyways, appreciate you guys, and I will see you back tomorrow. Peace.